So to continue, innovations needed support from managers and or policymakers to be implemented. So be reminded of this because later on, when you become managers and policymakers, it's important that you ensure that whoever from your staff would initiate for innovation, your support is very important. So if you're not the manager and policymakers, but you are part of the case management team, you must also be mindful that your inputs are very important so that innovations can be made because you are the direct practitioner, so you know more how things are being done beyond paper. So it has to be compatible with the existing practices. So it's your expectation versus reality component. So the policy serves as the guide of what is the ideal of what should be. So the only way to be sure whether or not you are gearing towards the correct direction or towards achieving your vision is to check from time to time to monitor and evaluate your programs and to be open for innovation. So it doesn't mean that your plan is already the final guide. So along the way, you have to be flexible and to be open for innovation. For innovations to move to sustainability, diffusion requires political relationships. So we have seen this on how some local government units would give us perfect example of what innovation should be. So the role of establishing such healthy relationship and understanding of the different functions of everyone is very crucial. The challenging the existing practice without this would be problematical. So it requires political will as well. So the new ways to participate, establishing accessibility in terms of knowledge, um, letting people to ask questions, to be challenged by their queries, and to establish new connections are some of the ways so that we can facilitate innovation. Social innovation provides a useful lens to understand the grassroots innovation. So those that are really coming from the practitioners. That's why when, for instance, when you assess the program for the farmers, you do not just consider the inputs of those who are, let's say, experts in studying about farming practices, but you should ask and give weight to the inputs of the farmers since they are the ones who really experience the practice or the program, so they can provide useful inputs so that we can innovate. The process would imply community participation. That's why a very related concept is co-design, meaning designing it with the people in the community. It helps to show problems in co-design practices and highlights the need for strong partnerships and advocacy beyond the immediate community for new ideas to thrive. So it's about openness to new ideas. So when we say sustainability, it doesn't mean that it is something that is static. So kung ga-sustain ka, it is not just about maintaining what it is as it is now, but you have to be open for new people, new ideas, new concepts. So let the new ideas thrive and co-design it with others, especially those who have experienced the programs firsthand. Social innovation as an idea has risen to prominence in relation to the movements for citizen involvement, which we are also calling for. So we have been highlighting the need to advocate for people's participation, not just in service delivery, but in coming up with novel and new approaches to social welfare. So to be not just satisfied with the status quo, but to explore how can things be done. So that's why benchmarking are also encouraged. At the same time, when we are given the opportunity to be exposed with, let's say, how other institutions would do it, we should be willing to accept the learning. Original usage was, of course, sociological for social innovation, but it had been used in many contexts, not just in sociological sense, but even in public administration, because it would lead to innovation. And it is also developed by civil society actors, or those who are really involved with shaping the society, to not just be satisfied with how the political climate is being shaped by those who have the power, but to be aware that the ultimate power are coming from the governed. So the civil society's participation is very crucial, that their voices, our voices, should be amplified, because that's the best way of creating the so-called socio-political change, the change that is gearing for development. Social innovations are those that are social in their means and also social in their ends. That we have to be mindful that if we innovate, it is for the welfare context, ang makakabuti sa nakakarami. So that's it. The concept of ensuring that it's not for the benefit of the few. And when you look at social innovation, it is also calling for collaboration, from the problem identification and towards implementing the solutions to social problems, because the experience of learning from the innovation does not just come and end with planning, but it will be further deepened through actual participation in the implementation phase. So it's the climax actually is when you already implement your ideas, because it could sound ideal or perfect in your mind, but when you execute them, there are some factors that you have not thought of. That's why you should also involve those who have been with you in the co-design process, not just in the planning stage, but in the implementation phase, which we know should be connected to your evaluation, so that the process of learning and enhancing does not stop. So, as believers of change, we're also believers and pushers for growth. We believe that the present could be enhanced for the better. So, when we apply the theory of social innovation, we are looking for the novel solutions, but not just it's not just solution focused, but it is also process focused. We want to involve people. We want to ensure that the resources are being utilized effectively and efficiently. We want to be fair, because, as we have said, the main purpose of policy practice is to promote social and economic goal. And that would include pushing for social justice. We want to make solutions that are sustainable and to bring value to society, to ensure impact. So I did not ask you to assess the programs just because I want you to do something, but it's really meant for you to develop critical thinking towards appreciating how the different agencies are doing their programs. But in the same time, when you already write their impact, you allow yourself to think of better ways of doing it. You end up with your recommendations, but your recommendations should also be well thought of, so that it can contribute to something that is positive, that your social research journey is something that would really have impact to society, worthy enough for it to be considered as a social research, something that would provide positive changes and call for development. So when we co-produce solutions, when you write your recommendation, you're actually um, engaging yourself in the process of being co-producers of solution, that your ideas are being placed in the proper venue so that the positive effect can be seen. So be open for suggestions for your we would be happy to submit your recommendations to the different agency so that they can also look at how they are doing and be inspired by your recommendations so that their impact will be multiplied, and that you as the researchers now would understand that you have contributed something from it. So it has to be mutual. When they have positively responded to your invitation that they are allowing you to assess their program, make sure that you also provide them some inputs so that the benefit will not just be one way. As social workers, we always ensure that the relationship that we develop with people, with client and stakeholders would not just be one way, but it is beneficial for both and for others. So there should be impact, that all types of relationship that we are engaging into is done in a professional context. So when you look at the meaning of professional context, it would also lead you to some of those references that would say that the growth that it facilitate is mutual, and that it also benefit other people, not just the two of you. In the process, you are actually increasing the aggregate utilitarian value because you have utilized your study, you have put your ideas into words, you have bravely come up with suggestions and programs that could be implemented. And if they will not implement it, who knows that it will serve as your guide later on when you work or when you establish your own agency. So since you have started exploring, so it's not all the time that people are being asked to sit down and to write about the how things are being done. We could get so busy sometimes that we would forget to assess our own action. So when you have that opportunity, consider it as a ground for learning, and you might found yourself getting the sense out of it, not just for the sake of compliance. So who knows, you will thank me later on. You will see its value when you will start working and you are being asked by your boss to come up with a program and then submit it instantly. Of course, you could get so busy. Let's say it's time skip and it's already 5 years from now, and you are so busy that you can't come up with innovative solutions, and you remember that you have actually engaged with your group and you have come up with suggestions which you can use. So in the process, you are empowering each other to see the beauty of innovation, which come from the very brave act of assessing the usual things, the let's say our own comfort zone. So it's not easy to look at your ways and to challenge it. Sometimes it's more comfortable and less stressful to maintain how things are. But if you want to see new solutions and you want to multiply impact, you have to be brave and be committed to push for innovation. So remember this co-design process, the top-down approach of community participation processes, which is driven by regional commissioners, may also be helpful. But we have to understand that the inputs of those who are in the grassroots can also provide us with a lot of knowledge and ideas and those practical tips so that you can come up with reasonable and practical solutions. So when you co-design, you are working with the community as active participants in the design process. And in the process, you are creating a shared value. When the output is meaningful for you, or when you are later on paid to come up with a proposal or design something, always remember that the output should really be something that would have value to them, to really impact their lives beyond words. So it's easy to combine words and then package them. It's as if that's a perfect plan. But if you have not consulted the people and you have not involved them in the process, the value could just really be for you, but not for them. So remember that shared value of the organization and the community developing growth. So understanding what to do with grassroots innovation when it occurs is an essential step towards coming up with a consumer and community partnership. I hope you remember that in the international trends, they are starting to change the term client to consumer to highlight the need to be clear at the onset that the type of relationship you are entering is not just for the client, but the client has an active role to play and that you are just facilitator. So they are the end consumer. It's up to them. When some programs could be so beautiful, but if they will not be open and participative to it, the impact could not be attained. So as consumer, di ba, mas gaka-appreciate ta kung gaka-utilize ta na ang consume ta, we will see its essence. Otherwise, community stakeholders might become disillusioned when the managers and policymakers do not implement in their power to trial, but also to accommodate innovations that address local problems through harnessing local resources. So when you become executive manager later on, or the executive director, or the head of the agency, or you are given the power to make policy, like you are part of the board, or when you later on enter into government service, wherever, whatever field that you will try, and you are given that power to plan something. Remember that when people make suggestions, you should not see it as a threat, but it's actually a very good opportunity to innovate. So social innovation theory, from the growing of idea, how ideas emerge from the grassroots, from those who are involved in the program, to understanding the problem, the context, the viability of solution. You have to be feasible to facilitate the boundary, then to develop the innovation, looking into the supportive niches that would protect innovation, those who would how you will ensure that such let's say innovation or project that you are pitching would be really responsive. When people ask you questions, do not look at it as a let's say something that would stop you, but use it as an opportunity to be critical, to question your own idea, so that you can also see whether your innovation solutions are really possible. And then the need to support, to be supported by the policy level actors. And the last stage is to um, ensure sustainability or diffusion. So kung kasaw lang ang change, let's say pang 2 weeks lang agin bago ang waste and then gamat-amat na naman balik. So what's the purpose of engaging your team in the process of planning it before kung hindi nyo man panindugan ang journey. That's why we highlighted that this is something that calls for a long-term commitment to look at even the financial aspect and the other resources which are also very important, like building the new organizational relationships. So it's really ensuring that the members of the team understand the different role that they are playing and how important those are. Lastly, let us end with this quote from the Executive Director of the NASW, Ms. Elizabeth Clark, in her book, Defining Policy Practice in Social Work. Advocacy for individuals, communities, and systems is not just a suggested activity for social workers. It's not a do it if you have some extra time, or do it if the inequity and disparity are very great activity. It is a requisite. So be inspired by those words, and when I hope to see your recommendations and innovation plan to be put into writing and to be submitted as well to the different agencies so that it can spark up change that would help not just your group but also them and the consumers that they are serving towards that shared value. So thank you so much, class.